medical errors.
Yeah, people might be surprised to know that it's the third leading cause of death in America.
Yeah.
I don't know about the world, but in America, it is number 3. That's behind cardiovascular disease and the sea monster. Besides those 2 diseases, it is doctors. And that's just flat out a little scary.
Yeah, coming into work drunk or high.
Yep.
Sleep deprived.
Sleep deprived. Yep.
Which I don't think that's healthy at all. Those doctors, or I think it's just nurses, or I don't know, mostly doctors or nurses working those 12-hour night shifts.
Yeah.
Anyway, you got to sleep in the day.
Right. It's crazy hours. And the young doctors, too, in med school coming out for their internships and such, and they're just working long hours, man. Long hours.
Yeah. My old college, my college was like, it was like a nursing central, and nurses and doctors would go there, and you would just see them up all hours of the night using the study rooms and stuff. And it just didn't look like anything I wanted to do. You know, it's like they're studying to become like slaves, essentially.
Yeah, that's the thing is, you know, you have to assume that at 15, 16 years old, they have a dream of being a healer and having the status of a medical doctor. But it doesn't take long to realize that they're not a healer. They're a stabilizer, you know. They don't heal you, they stabilize you, and then they manage your pain. And it doesn't, you know, just some years into the job, a lot of them have to ask themselves, am I doing more harm than I am good?
You won't believe how many nurses I come into contact with that said that to me. Like, they got in a private room and we were just talking, and they said, like, I don't know, like, if I'm doing the right thing sometimes.
Right.
Nurses.
That's tough.
So that's insane.
It's tough. Yeah, and you know, in med school, they're really trained to match diagnosis with drugs, injections, or surgeries. Those are the only 3 options.
Yeah.
There's no other option. And
you were bringing up sometimes they overtest.
They overtest, yes. So this is called defensive medicine. So defensive medicine is when they don't want to get a lawsuit. Keep in mind, every medical doctor has malpractice insurance. The premium, the monthly premium, is at a certain amount. But if you get a lawsuit, your premium is going to go up. It's no different than car insurance or health insurance. If you have a pre-existing condition, you're going to have a more expensive premium. So the medical doctor does not want to get sued. So what does he do? He overtests.
Yeah.
Because if he doesn't overtest, the patient could be like, well, this guy he didn't do this, he didn't do that, he didn't do this, he didn't do that. This is malpractice.
Wow, really?
So if he overtests, that means he's going to end up overdiagnosing because you're going to find abnormalities. Everyone has abnormalities, and that's one of the things I talk about in the book. It's a very, very important point that I'm trying to help people understand. It's very difficult to understand because they need to unplug from their programming to understand it, that the body goes through cycles of abnormalities. So if you're constantly getting blood work and you're constantly getting scanned and you're going through all these tests, they're going to find something.
Yeah.
I'm 45 years old. I've been at a computer for a long time, right? If I got a scan done on my spine, you think there's not damage on the spine? Of course there's damage on the spine.
Mm-hmm.
But people don't recognize that abnormalities are normal. so they go, and then the medical doctor is going to overtest with defensive medicine, and then he's going to overdiagnose. And guess what that does? It makes the medical monopoly more money. So it's a cycle. Because now you're running people through more machines. You're running people through more blood tests. And if they do find an abnormality, it's in their unwritten law that they have to treat it. So now the person is getting a treatment too on top of it. So this is generating money, money and money and money. It's a cycle. It's a very vicious cycle. And if people don't unplug, they're just going to go around and around and around. And obviously, doctors make mistakes. If they're the third biggest killers in America, they obviously make mistakes. And the mistakes can be horrifying. I remember you were on the Zoom call with me. Our client Blondie, wherever Blondie is, shout out to Blondie. I remember her telling us, because she was like a surgical assistant.
Yeah.
I remember her telling us that one day the surgeon closed up the patient, walked out of the room, and came back like, oh no, he left the gauze in the person. So he had to open the person back up and get the gauze out. This is pretty significant. Now, okay, you're human, you make mistakes. It's like, all right, glitch in the matrix, you put the refrigerated item in the cabinet. All right, you aren't thinking in that moment, whatever, but this is a human body that's cut open. So what was to blame? Is it a lack of mindfulness? Was he having an argument with his wife or something and he was just distracted? Was he sleep deprived? Or was he high? Was he drunk? And some people might be like, high or drunk? Why would my doctor be high or drunk? No, they're high and drunk.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because they have a horrible career. They're basically soldiers on the front line. They're seeing death and destruction every day. And unless they're in the emergency room, they really can't do anything about it. Like if they're a primary care physician or a specialist, drugs, injection, surgeries. So it might work. It might work on the first try. The patient comes in. They go, oh, yeah, I'm going to match you up with this drug. We got this drug. Okay. Patient comes back 2 months later. Doc, not only do I not feel better, but I have 3 extra symptoms. And the doctor goes, oh, all right, well, we'll switch this out and we'll do this other. 2 months later, they come back. Doc, I'm not, what's going on here? That's when the doctor gets challenged. No, it's genetics. I don't know what to tell you, you know? And so this is a very stressful life. So a lot of them end up with drinking issues or drug issues. They end up on their own drugs. Opioids. Right?
Yeah.
Take painkillers to get high. And they can prescribe it to each other. So you can't prescribe it to yourself, but you can, I'm a doctor, you're a doctor, we're friends, we're buddies. Hey man, let me get that stuff. Can you hook me up? I'll hook you up, you know? And so a lot of them are drunk and high. You'd be surprised.
Oh. Does misdiagnosis fall into these categories as well?
Well, the misdiagnosis is just not wanting to get sued, but it's also the programming, the brainwashing of the patient. Because why would a patient want to be diagnosed in the first place? What's the yearning inside of you that wants a diagnosis? You know, what's the yearning of, oh, just give me my 4 or 5 syllable word and I'll, you know, go do a 5K walk and we'll raise money. You know? So it's like the whole idea of diagnosis is wrong to begin with, because you should be going after the body from head to toe. And of course we do that with our head to toe analysis, but
I feel like I give the illusion that once you get your diagnosis, that's when all your problems
right.
will disappear. It's like,
Right.
oh, I can just get on a medication for this and I'm fine.
Right. No, it's psychological, because once they know what it is, then they can accept it. When you don't know what it is, it's hard to accept it.
I have arthritis.
Right. Right. And then, you know, when they're, you know, at the family barbecue, they can be like, yeah, you know, yeah, I got the arthritis, and you know. But if you didn't have a fancy word to go with it, you just be like, yeah, on my left knee.
You sound crazy. Just that left knee is...
Right. So, you know, it's pretty wild to see what's happening out there.
I would say that, like, been on calls with a lot of people, and the most healthiest people that I've come into contact with weren't the youngest. They were the oldest, and they did not go to the doctor.
Right.
And these were the 6s, the 5s, the 4s, the 3s.
Right.
It was interesting to me because
on the symptom score of the analysis.
Even talking to them, I was like, okay, so like, what issues are you dealing with? They're like, well, yeah, just, you know, my back hurts.
Right.
I was like, you're 77. What do you mean?
Right.
But yeah, they stay healthy. They watch what they eat. They avoid the doctor, and they're doing fine. They just saw you and they were like, I just want to make sure I'm moving in the right direction.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to go get a bunch of tests done and forced on medications. So that was interesting to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the fact that we keep track of a symptom score from the analysis is pretty brilliant. It's like you just have your score, and if it goes up, you're going in the wrong direction. And if it goes down, you're going in the right direction. It's so simple. You know, everyone can understand it. You know, you're just playing a game of head to toe. It's the head to toe healing game.
Yep.
You know, what direction do you want to go in? But the medical monopoly, you get your diagnosis, which could be completely wrong, and then you're going to get overtreated because you're going to be overdiagnosed. You know, and you know, they're just making so many errors out there. I mean, there's some horror stories, man.
Yeah, you want to read one? You want me to read one?
Yeah, knock yourself out. I mean, absolute horror stories.
Pick a random one.
The worst one is the leg. This doctor was supposed to amputate a leg. And he had a little lack of mindfulness, and he took off the wrong leg. So that person woke up and missing 2 legs. When they went to sleep, supposed to be missing 1 leg.
Yeah, in 1955, a man at a university hospital underwent surgery to remove his diseased right leg, only to find out the surgeon removed the wrong leg. At the same facility, a patient
That's
died
horrific.
after.
That's
Yeah.
horrific. That's horrific.
I've heard the same thing with women that have like the breast sea monster,
Yeah.
and they remove both breasts
Yep.
because they removed the wrong one. Yeah.
Yep. What else you got?
Case 13, you know
Okay.
anything? A 41-year-old woman with severe migraines was seen by a deputizing general practitioner who gave her these long word
Yeah.
medications.
A drug. Yeah.
These drugs stopped her vomiting, but did not relieve her pain. Her husband, a consultant surgeon, suggested an injection of pethidine, which general practitioner went to fetch from a local pharmacy because the pharmacy had no pethidine. The general practitioner obtained, and this is a lot, diamorphine containing 100 milligrams and administered the whole dose intramuscularly. The diagnosis was reasonable for the pethidine, but it was 10 times too high for diamorphine. The woman went to sleep and was dead within the hour. Wow. The doctor was charged with manslaughter as administering that amount of drugs to gross negligence. Wow.
And he's still out there doctoring because they don't get in trouble.
Oh, yeah. He got sentenced to 12 months in prison and suspended for 2 years.
And then he's right back. 3 years. He's right back. Filling out
Legal
prescriptions.
homicide. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's not like, it happens way too much because, I mean, I had a story where I had a PICC line in my arm. That's for people that can't eat. So I got nutrients through my arm. And when I went to go get it reversed, I was reporting that like my arm was hurting. Like I would feel stinging sensation in that area. They kept saying, no. My mom was like demanding they get like the team to look into if I'm getting blood clots because that was a possibility. They denied it. They just like kicked us out of the hospital essentially. I kept complaining about it. My mom brought me back the next day. They finally did get somebody to look into my arm, and there was blood clots all throughout that arm. And so if it wasn't for my mom, I would have been dead.
Yeah.
Because I was too weak to even circulate my blood. I barely had blood at that. So,
Right.
Yeah, they found the blood clots, and then I was put on medication for it. But they just sent me home. When my mom was the only reason why that didn't go. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, and it's medical error. It's it's an epidemic.
They're tired. They're
tired
sick.
and they don't have solutions. So it's just like it's a dead end almost every time, unless it's an emergency room situation. Even in the emergency room, there's going to be mistakes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But it's a lot more plain and simple in the emergency room than it is the primary care physician office. And that's where the bad stuff happens, the primary care physician's office. And
it's just a sad place too. Like
Yeah.
they're sick because it's like there's germs everywhere.
yeah.
It's like the most contagious place. They're sick. I just know they're tired. A lot of them can't posture. A lot of them can't stand for long.
Right.
Like I've had nurses come in and they're out of breath, and they're just walking.
Yeah.
But they're tired. They're in pain. It's like it's a sick center. Like literally, a sick helping sick.
Yeah.
So it's bound to be mistakes, I bet.
Now the biggest case of malpractice is very extreme.
What?
It's this guy by the name of Dr. Harold Shipman. He was in the UK. He dealt with an older audience of mostly women over the age of 60. He was taking care of them. And he must have had a good personality, and he hit it off with the women, and they invited him into their homes. He would make house calls, and he would convince them to take injections of specific drugs, and he would kill them. And this went on for over 20 years. Nobody knew what was happening. I mean, they knew people were dying, but they didn't know why or how. And he finally got caught, and he went to jail. And he became known as the most prolific serial killer in modern human history. More than Jeffrey Dahmer, more than the clown guy. I forgot the clown guy's name. There's a lot of famous serial killers, but this guy, he murdered over 250 women over the course of 20 plus years. Now, is this a normal case of malpractice? No. But the only reason why he was able to get away with it was because he was a doctor and they trusted him. So the point is very shocking but relevant. Because he held the title of medical doctor, he held the respect and the prestige, and these women let him into their homes. And it just goes to my point of the programming that the public has towards doctors. You are trained from a young age. Go see the doctor, go see the doctor, go see the doctor. He's a doctor, he's a doctor. Women telling their daughters, make sure you marry a doctor, marry a doctor. You know, there's so many stereotypical cliche phrases that everyone's probably heard in their time. You just go watch a sitcom. Just go watch a sitcom, whether it's Cheers or Seinfeld or the Golden Girls, whatever. I bet you there's going to be mentioning of doctor every few episodes somewhere in there. It's constantly in the fabric of our society. Doctor, 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 doctor. And they program us, they brainwash us to think that our bodies are a car and the doctor is the mechanic. And it's not the case. It's an illusion. And they essentially branded the word medical and medicine when the real word that they should be using is health. So you're not going to a health doctor. You're going to a medical doctor, which means they have medicine. So it's a dead end.